Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing details. Today, we're discussing the Piaget Polo Panda Blue Chronograph. This is a 2021 release in 888 pieces in stainless steel. It's 42 millimeters in diameter, 11.2 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip, 46.7 millimeters as a 21 millimeter spacing between the lugs. On my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, you can see it's agreeably flat, and that is Piaget's calling card, thin watches. This watch is flat enough to fit underneath the cuff, so while it's certainly a sporting model, you could wear it formally. I'm also going to emphasize that there is a bit of virtual span across the wrist. So lug to lug, it's only 46.7 millimeters, but you can see the strap is rigid and it flares out a little bit more than that. So I'm going to recommend this watch for a wrist no smaller than 15 centimeters circumference, because any smaller than that and the strap's really going to fight the arc of your wrist. Good looking watch. There's the over-the-top shot. And the strap is a good looking piece as well. You can see that there's a lateral striation, of course, the polo dial, and then across the strap as well. It's a matte blue on the underside. You can see we have the Piaget logo. We have a little bit of a ribbing that matches the top, and then we have a double folding clasp. You could see that internally it is a twin trigger release, so you press the triggers. That releases the two sides. It's satinated internally. It has some polished accents along with satin externally. It is Piaget branded. And as with all deployment clasps, it offers extra security against accidentally dropping your watch. You can also see a bit of an unusual feature. There's a little pull tab spring bar that allows you to quickly remove the clasp from the strap, and then we have pull tab spring bars that allow you to remove the strap from the case. So you can easily strap swap here without any tools. Usually we only have quick releases strap to case. Piaget gives you a quick release strap to buckle. Now, taking a look at the flank, it's relatively simple. Longitudinal satination, integrated lugs, lug hoods are polished, the case back is satinated, but the underside of the case flank is polished, just as the top of it has a little bit of a mirrored bevel that runs end to end. The side of the bezel is steep and narrow. You can see it's polished, and unlike something along the lines of a Royal Oak, we don't have a vertical satination on the bezel. We actually have side-to-side satination. The crown has a little kerf underneath it, so it's easy to dig your nail under and withdraw the crown. Despite the 100-meter water resistance rating, it is a push-down crown, not a screw-down crown. We have oval cross-section polished chronograph pushers, a silver dial. Outboard, there's a metal track for reading your chronograph seconds, fractions of seconds, and minutes. Then we have applied hour indices, and we'll do a quick loom shot so you can see those, as well as the hands, are fairly well loomed. It's a pretty easy watch to read in the dark. There are sub-registers that are slightly sunken and feature very subtle texturing. They're a matte blue, so that is the blue Panda feature of the watch. Is the blue Panda model, and that is the namesake. Now, one feature that you'll note is that with the chronograph inactive, it's a very dead dial. But because it is a vertical clutch chronograph, you can leave the chronograph running full time with no additional wear and tear on the watch, and you could just treat that as your center seconds hand and your running seconds hand. They're handsome, polished chapped rings for each of the sub-registers, and we have what are best described as hybrid hands at center. They are a hybrid of Dauphine and Alpha hands. Taking a quick look, there's a Piaget P within the counterweight of the Lancet-style seconds hand. We have a hacking seconds or stop seconds function. We also have a quick set so you can rapidly cycle the date. And then on the reverse side, you can see what Piaget describes as caliber 1160P. Now, this also does business as the Cartier 1904 CHMC, and it's a movement developed for both Piaget and Cartier by Valfleurier, which is a Fleurier area movement development house, an engineering specialist owned by Richemont to provide movements to certain brands that have less capacity in-house to design and build many different lines of movements simultaneously. Piaget is definitely a true manufacturer, but in this case they've leaned on VF and Cartier. It is a attractive movement with a blue rotor. It automatically winds a 50-hour power reserve. It beats away at 4 hertz or 8 beats per second. It has the stop stop second, the quick set date if it's on 35 joules. You can see a skeletonized bridge allows you to see the column wheel, which is responsible for cycling the functions. And then there's a vertical clutch, the vertical clutch making for super smooth actuation of the chrono. So here's the thing, when you start it, there's no jump or stagger to the second saying. It always starts perfectly, stops without waggling, and resets perfectly to the index at 60. That's the advantage of a vertical clutch. The advantage of column wheels is that they're very traditional. This is how watchmaking and chronograph design has existed for centuries, but they're more difficult to tune, and they have a wonderful tactile feel and sound to them, and that's definitely something you want. The movement is nicely finished. It's executed to a higher degree than you'll find on, for example, a Cartier. The preponderance of the finish is mechanical, but there are some hand elements there. One of the most beautiful elements of the movement being the blued screws, which are heat-fired, and then there is a Edicron system for adjusting beat error and timing, and then a eccentric screw, a fine adjustment system, so you can adjust this quite precisely, and it can be made to run extremely well given the quality of that regulating structure. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.